Our next presenter is Director of Public Relations for Women for Decency and author of the comic blog ComingToGrips.net, Polly Scott.
I titled my presentation, You want me to explain what to my child? Not because I think any of you are afraid to talk about pornography with your child, but because many people are. There's a myth that if you talk to your kids about pornography, that it will make them more curious. How many of you grew up learning to just say no to drugs? All of you. We practice so much, right? In school and at home and our communities. We learned what drugs look like. We learned what it's called. We learned the kinds of effects that it has on us. We learned all about it. In fact, just on Tuesday, I took my 2 young sons to gymnastics class, and there was Hugs Not Drugs Day. And not one parent, said, oh, they said the D word, drugs. No, they were normal. Nobody turned blue. Everybody thought, oh, yeah, this is a great day. And my kids went home, and they had a pack of Smarties, and it said, you're a Smartie. Don't do drugs. It was a great experience. After all of my training and all of your training, I have never been asked to do drugs. Maybe you have, but I've never had that opportunity to just say no. But I have been exposed to pornography. I've been exposed to pornography, and I know that many of you have, and our kids are being exposed every day. As a middle school teacher, I witnessed one day a child being offered a Tic Tac. And before he took that Tic Tac, he said, what is that? Is it drugs? And I was really proud of him. But over and over, I saw kids handing their smartphones to other kids, and I didn't see kids saying, what is that? Is it porn? Never saw that happen. I never had a kid ask. So I've decided I'm going to teach my son how to do that. So we role play. I say, hey, look at this. And he asks what it is. What is it? And we have a conversation about what might happen. And if it's something inappropriate, something that can hurt his brain, he knows to push it away and say, that's not cool. Unlike drugs, where our communities and our families feel really confident about talking about it, kids and parents are scared to talk about pornography, and that fear is contributing to the problem. The pornography problem is a lot bigger than just internet safety. Internet safety is really important, and Women for Decency for years has counseled women and parents to put filters on their computers. That's really important. We have friends like Net Nanny, Secure Mama. Secure Mama is a great blog that teaches people how to put filters on their smartphones and their tablets. Lots of different resources there, and we encourage you to get educated about internet filters. But 79%, that will really help because 79% of accidental exposure does happen at home. But what happens when they leave the home? What happens at a neighbor's house or at the grocery store or other situations? We need to make sure that we teach our kids and that we have ongoing and layered conversations with them about what pornography is and about what it can do, just like we did with drugs. So I teach my son that there are 2 things that really hurt your brain. The first is bad pictures. And I tell him what it's called. It's called pornography. And the second is bad food, alcohol, and drugs. Clay Olson from Fight the New Drug says one thing that teenagers wish their parents knew was that pornography can cause an actual chemical addiction. And that addiction can affect the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which that's the part of your brain that helps you make decisions. So we see people making difficult decisions with a problem with their brain because they have this addiction. The other thing that happens is that pornography addicts have a hard time empathizing with others or connecting with others in an emotional way. So because I want to protect my son from this, I need to teach him how to do it. But he is so young, I need to do it in an appropriate way. I found a really great opportunity one day when I was driving down 13th Street in Salt Lake City, near the Nightmare on 13th Street building. You've probably seen that. And as we drove by, my son said, Mom, there are some scary pictures on that building. And I thought, this is a good time to talk about this. So I looked in the rearview mirror and I said, you know how I told you that when you get uncomfortable, you don't have to look at it? And he said, yeah. I said, you don't have to look at that. It can hurt your brain. He's like, okay. So he tried to look the other way, but I could see in the rearview mirror that he was kind of having a hard time, you know? He was like, So I said, you know, sometimes scary pictures or bad pictures are also very interesting. We need to acknowledge that. Sometimes they're interesting. Sometimes you'll want to look at them. But it does hurt your brain, so we need to look away. So I said, what color is this Walmart building? And we started talking about Walmart on the other side. And he just talked to me about the trees, and it was a good experience. On the way back, he looked at the building, and he said, Mom, there is that building with the scary pictures. I'm going to look at it very carefully so it doesn't hurt my brain. You know, it's a really funny story, and we laugh, but people actually think that about pornography. They think, if I look at it really carefully, or just a little bit, or if I don't tell anyone, then no one will get hurt. We know that that's not true. We know that it affects lives, it affects brains, and it affects relationships. There is no way to carefully consume pornography. So usually now my son announces when he's seen a bad picture. We drove through Las Vegas on the way to Disneyland a little while ago, and he was like, Mom, that's a bad picture. I'm going to look away. And we practiced, so it was a really good experience. I didn't point them out. Well, maybe I did a little bit. There's another myth floating around that if all women dressed appropriately, and that every single filter on every single smartphone, every single tablet, every single computer in the entire world had a filter on it, we would never have to talk about pornography. Well, we know that's not true. Let me talk about that for a minute. We're very excited at Women for Decency. We have been working on this for years, trying to help kids not be exposed accidentally when they're in public, at grocery stores and other places. 2 of our most successful campaigns have been covering up magazine covers or taking down ads in public places. And now we see in the UK and in Iceland that they are putting forth legislation to stop pornography at the service level provider. That means that you would have to, if you wanted porn, if you were an adult, on your own smartphone or tablet or computer, you would actually have to call Comcast and tell them, I would like this in your home. It's pretty cool. If you go to the Women for Decency Facebook page, you will find a similar petition on our Facebook page right now. We need 150 signatures at first, and then to go on to get our, it's not our petition, but another woman's project, but we encourage you to go and sign these petitions so that we can get this done. But in the meantime, right? In the meantime, we cannot leave our kids' future up to a hope or a dream that this will happen someday. We need to teach our kids to take responsibility now. So one of the things that I do is make sure that I teach my son that he is responsible for anything that he does. For his hands, we don't hit, we don't steal. For his feet, we don't trespass. But also for his eyes. He is responsible for his eyes. So I take my son swimming, and one day we were in the locker room, and he was watching, there was a woman changing her clothes, which is fine, it was totally appropriate, it was the dressing room. He was watching her, and I said, are you looking at her change her clothes? And he said, yes, because he's young, and there was no shame in that. And I said, let's give her her privacy. Would that be a good idea? And he's like, oh yeah, you taught me I need to give people their privacy. So he turned away. The woman came up to me and she said, that has never happened. I have never heard a mom ever teach her son how to give someone their privacy. She said, most of the time in the locker room when the parents come in with their young kids, I just get these, who's this lady? But we can't let other people, their choices affect our kids. We need to teach our kids how to deal with it themselves. My husband was exposed to pornography, like many people, when he was a young teenager, and he spent the rest of that trip upset, crying, completely devastated that friends would show him that to him. He did not look at pornography in high school, but it wasn't until he was first had his own laptop and he was in graduate school that he started looking at pornography. And he tried to stop many times, but he didn't have the information that he needed. When he came to me after we were married and told me he was struggling with it, it was tough to find the right resources and the right people to help. If he knew what he knows now, it wouldn't have been as hard as it was. It was a long journey. The awesome thing is now, he's been sober for a long time, And now we have all of these resources that we can give people. And the most important one is that we talk about it openly and that we share our stories with others. So I really encourage you to talk to your kids about it openly, and you'll find that it's not as hard as you think. Thank you.